Hey everybody, it's Dr. Chris here. Happy Tuesday. And I am super excited to be here to talk about the Aroma Freedom Technique. So for those of you who are not familiar with it, let me just show you the books so that you can get this glare off of here. Maybe. This is a book by Dr. Benjamin Perkus. So I highly recommend if you're interested in learning more in depth about emotions and how essential oils help with your emotions, to get this book, because he really does a great job. Since he's the one that created this technique, he does a really great job of going through all of that. And I actually just did a YouTube live on my Dr. Christine Anderson chiropractor YouTube channel, which I'll put a link here, talking about how to release fear and anxiety. So I go into a little bit about how emotions can affect our brain. And that might be interesting to look at, because then I talk about AFT, or Aroma Freedom Technique, as being one of those modalities to help us release emotions that are in our bodies. And really not only that, but to also help move us to where we want to get going. So many times people have such great intentions about what they want to do and these lofty goals, and they're not realized because we have things that we subconsciously are holding us back from getting to where we want to be. And a lot of that is based on emotions, including fear, that we have taken on quite early on in our lives, before maybe even our conscious brain even developed. And we do things that we don't even know why we're doing them. And so upon kind of looking at this as you go through, essential oils are really great to tap into this kind of primitive part of our brain, the amygdala, the hippocampus. This is where all our emotions what we're looking at, what we're feeling, what we're experiencing, all of our emotions kind of go into that area. And then the amygdala has to figure out, well, is this a threat? Does it need do we have to handle this right now? What's happening? How are we going to respond to it? And the hippocampus is kind of working along with it. And then there's physiologic responses that are involved with our sympathetic system that can go into overdrive. And memories are created associated with these emotions. And guess what? We can store them in our bodies. And then we're reacting, and we're acting out, and we're doing these things, and we don't even know why we're doing them. Well, this is all based on what's happening with our emotional self. So this is super, super important, because if you really want to move forward in your life and you don't see that happening, or you're having these emotions that you feel are crippling you and not letting you move forward with your life, fear, anxiety being two of the greatest cripplers. They can either be motivators or they can be cripplers. It's super important to address this. And the really cool thing about our sense of smell, we have 12 cranial nerves, and cranial nerve number 1 is our olfactory nerve. And it basically is way back. It goes back from our brainstem straight back into our brain. And there's receptors inside of our nose that go directly back into our brain. No stopping, no synapsing in other areas. Every other cranial nerve in our body crosses, but this is a direct response. So our right cranial nerve goes right back to our brain on the right side. So this is super cool. And the reason being that smell was a sense that really helped us to survive in the past, but now we're using it to basically redirect the path. So we want to take a negative path or a cycle or circuit, and we want to redirect it into a positive aspect using essential oils as a way to do that. So super, super cool. So if you are doing this with me right now, you want to have some oils on hand. You know what? Any oils you have on hand are going to work, because basically the oil that works is the one you have on hand. Now, I'm going to mention certain ones because these are the ones mentioned in the Aroma Freedom Technique. But if you don't have them, it doesn't matter. Use what you've got. But I do know that you should have lavender. You should have frankincense. And you should have stress away. And the reason why I know you should have those, unless you didn't reorder yet and you used them all up because they're yummy, is that they came in your starter kit. So these are amazing oils. You can see I have the 15 mils because, guys, let's face it, I go through these so quickly. If I just bought 5 mils, forget it. But they are some of my favorite oils. So the very first thing that I would do if I were you is to get an empty bottle. And I would put equal amounts of these 3 oils in that empty essential oil bottle. And I would keep that on hand at all times, which is what I do, by the way, because if I am confronted with a stressful situation and I want to stop that cycle of that negative cycle from occurring, if you can use this blend right away, guess what? You can release a lot of stuff straight away. And then you won't have to deal with it later. So I mix these up, and I have a little 5 mil I keep with me at all times, and I have another one in my office. This is what's termed the memory releasing blend. Again, if you don't have these, you can use anything, or you can just grab your stress away or your frankincense or your lavender and use these oils. If you're in a stressful situation, just right away grab your oils and use them to help subvert any negativity to keep it from getting in your body. All right. That's the memory release blend. If you, right now, you can just put them in your hand if you're going to do this with me. So the first step of this process, there's 12 steps, and Dr. Perkus goes over those steps in detail in the book. And then there's this quick step-by-step guide. You can also find online like little sort of cheat sheets too, but this is the basis of it. And so you're going to be able to do things right now if you want to. If not, you can go back and watch this later. All right. So the first thing you're going to do is set your goal. You want to be as specific as possible. And you also want this goal to be something that is attainable. It's like it's just maybe out of reach. You don't want to be like going from poverty level going, well, I'm going to, earn $1 million in 2 months. I mean, that's just not realistic, right? So you want something that is reasonable. And I'm just going to read a few from the book. Here's the example. I have a job doing blank and paying blank per year starting on, and be specific on the date. So the more specific you can be, the better this is going to be. It's basically you're setting that intention so that you want to be specific, so the universe knows exactly what your goal is, right? You don't want it to be wishy-washy. I am free of craving or doing blank, which would be a detrimental habit. So notice it says I'm free of craving or doing. So I'm free of craving or doing, or free of craving or smoke, or smoking or craving smoking would be an example, or chocolate chip cookies or whatever. Any detrimental habit or craving. Notice I didn't say I am going to quit, something, because that is, first of all, you want to do it in the present time. I am free, as if it is already happening. I am in a loving and supportive relationship. That's another example. I do what I need to do, eat well, exercise, etc., to support vibrant health. This is an excellent one. We all need this one, right? So you want to set some sort of goal, be as specific as you can using the present tense. Now, if things aren't kind of gelling for you, you can use a few oils to help with that process. You can use clarity. I love this one. This one has a basil note, a little bit of peppermint. Oh, I love this. I love putting this on my temples. You can drop it in your hand, breathe it in. And sit for a minute and think about, what are your goals? Have a pen and paper handy as well so you can write these things out. I always find it's helpful. I find my journals all over the place, and I do use my Young Living ones. I have some really cool ones from conventions. So there's one, there's another that I jot different techniques down and whatnot, or goals that I'm having. Because I've done this a few times, and actually I did it once with Dr. Perkus when he spoke at a Lucy Libido rally. So that was super fun. Other oils that you could possibly use if those goals are not coming quickly would be inspiration or highest potential. This is another great one. So these are just some examples of oils. Again, anything that's calling to you, it's great. Whatever's going to help you with figuring out what those goals are. So that's number one. Set your goal. State your goal out loud. So write it down, but then actually say it. All right. So figure out, what's your dream? What are you striving for? What is it that you would like to do with your life? Now, you want to rate this on the likelihood that you believe you can actually reach this goal on a scale of 1 to 10. And this is super important because, oh, what did I do there? Oh, lost it for a second. Wow. This is super important because you are going to rate it. And if you rate it somewhere like 7 or above, then that means that you're not really striving for that goal, right? It's pretty attainable. You're probably already on your way there. It kind of has to be a little scary and like, woof. So, let's just say you are doing the Young Living business and you're like, okay, I am goaled by June 30th, 2020. So that's in a few months. Like, wow, that is, I'm aspiring silver. That's the next rank up. That would be like, whoa, I would have to seriously have that as a goal and be serious about it. So you want to rank that. And typically these goals are going to be anywhere from 1 to maybe 4 or 5. And that's pretty reasonable. So think big, right? Now, you want to listen to your inner critic. As soon as you state your goal, what does your inner voice say? For me, it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? How would you do, let's see, it's May. That would be like 1 month. How could you do that? Now, there are crazier things. There are definitely people doing the Young Living business that have done that in that amount of time. I would have to be, super committed. So right now it'd be like, okay, how are you going to do that? You've got your chiropractic business. You are doing these YouTube shows. You are educating yourself a lot about what's going on right now and trying to educate people. Like, how the heck are you going to do that? That's crazy, right? It's crazy talk. That's what my inner voice starts saying. So you want to kind of write those things down, think about it. Things like, yeah, right, sure. Who do you think you are? You'll never do it. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not worthy. You haven't done it so far. You've been trying to, saying you're going to do this forever. What makes you think you're going to do it now? So, all that negative chitter chatter critic stuff. So you want to identify what those negative voices are saying. And then you want to identify the emotion or feeling related to that negative voice. Put a single name to that feeling. Anger, sadness, fear, shame, guilt, stuck, whatever comes up. It's your experience. So there may be more than one emotion that comes up, but just stick with the strongest, most prevalent about what is actually coming to you. Name it, say it out loud, write it down, um, put a name to it. Now, you want to locate where in your body you have this feeling. All right. So for me now, even just saying that, I feel a little anxious and I feel it kind of right here at the center of my solar plexus, like it almost takes my breath away. Like, oh, like sort of like if your life depended on it, how would you make that happen sort of thing? Like, oh, I already have enough on my plate. Oh my gosh. So I didn't even know I was going to say that. So I just sort of said it as an example and see, stuff comes up, right? So you want to locate where in your body you have this feeling. That place holds those memories of our feelings, just like our mind does. So if you're having trouble figuring out where that is, just close your eyes and feel that feeling and see where it goes. It might be tightness, it might be squeezing. I can kind of feel my breath getting a little short, and write down where that emotion is residing. And then you're going to close your eyes if they're not closed yet and let yourself find an earlier time to when you felt the same way. So that's the original event to how this all started. You want to try and figure out. It could be more recent. It could be a long, long time ago from when you were a kid. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just whatever comes to you. So just sort of breathe and think about it and allow it to happen. Don't press for it. You might get a visual, you might get an image or a movie. Some memory will pop up in your head. And if it doesn't pop up from a while ago, just sort of think what's been going on in your life recently and start with that, because sometimes there's kind of layers to these things. All right, so we're on step 6, halfway there. Now you're going to use that memory release blend, or you're going to open up each of your bottles of lavender, frankincense, and stress away. And put an equal, 1 or 2 drops in your hand, in your palm of your hand. Rub it in, make a cup, and breathe deeply. Now, here is where you want to put everything together. You want to focus on your thought, your feeling, your memory, your part of your body where that feeling resides. All of those things you want to tie together using this memory release blend, because you're going to release those negative emotions where you store them in your body, and you're going to let that path grow over with weeds, and we're going to mow a new path or thresh a new path, whatever you want to call it. That's more positive. All right, so you want to focus on that thought, those negative voices that were chiming in, the feeling that created, this feeling where the goal is that you want. That's just like, whoa, the memory of this feeling and when it occurred and where it's occurring in your body right now, all of that together. And then just keep breathing and experience what happens to that image, the thoughts, the feelings. So you might have emotions filter through. Maybe it'll intensify at first before it sort of ebbs down. Maybe the location might change. Maybe the feeling might change. Hopefully something is going to shift, right? Who knows how it's going to play out? That's not the point. You're going to have your experience. Just don't fight your emotions as they go through. Just keep breathing your oils and accept whatever comes your way and just let it happen. Let it go and note any changes in any imagery or feelings that you're having. You might notice new beliefs. You might have creative ideas pop into your head. So there are some positive things that might start to happen related to your goal and your intention. Um, Maybe you think of yourself a little differently. So you want to just notice any changes and any differences. You can write them down if you want. And then when you feel you're ready, you're going to restate your goal again out loud. All right. So that from step number one, stating your goal, I am gold in June. Now, I didn't really do this, so it's still kind of like, whoa, it's probably still like a 3 or 4 for me before it was like a 1. But even just talking about it, it's amazing, and just having the oils in my presence and smelling what I'm smelling. But you want to restate your intention and rate it. So if it's less than an 8, then you're going to go back to step 2. If it's an 8 or above, you are well on your way and you would continue on to step 10. So if you repeat the process again of going through, listening to those voices, what's the emotion coming up? Where is it in your body? When did it occur in the past, this feeling and emotion? So you go through all of that again, and you can still use the memory release blend, but sometimes it's better to use a different oil. Again, you can use any oil you have on hand, or Dr. Perkus recommends using maybe release for the second round, or inner child for the third round. If you go through the third round, you may need to do it even 4 times or 5 times. There's no set amount. You can go back through this as much as you want, but you're going to do it as much as you need until when you say your goal, you're like, yes, it is 8 or above. I'm positive that this is what is going to happen. All right, so once you get to that point, you're going to be at step 10. You're going to create an affirmation that expresses your new belief. Affirmations are super powerful because when we hear these things over and over, if we're telling our brain these things, it sends a different chemistry through our body. When we're saying negative things, it creates a negative chemistry, biochemistry. So we're actually different people when we're having different emotions. And so this is the mowing of that new pathway, or threshing the new pathway, a positive pathway. So we want to work those new beliefs into a positive affirmation to reinforce the positivity that you've now created. And that way, if you're focusing on the positive, you're not going to be focusing on the negative. And this will help to, and using the oils while doing it is going to help set these and cement them into your deepest part of your brain. And that's the part that is going to work unconsciously, whether you're thinking about it or not. So again, you want these affirmations to be in the present tense. Do not use the word not in your affirmation, because the subconscious can't hear the word not. So you don't want to say, I'm not going to be, negative. All it hears is, I'm going to be negative. So that is an example of what not to do. You want to do things more like, I am productive and focused today and every day. I practice healthy habits every day. And you can be more specific, such as drinking half my body weight in water, exercising 30 or moving my body 30 minutes a day. I like that better, movement. So things like that. You can be as specific as you want. I live my life to its fullest, or I live my life optimally by, and you can fill in the blanks. I have the power, strength, and endurance to do what is right. So these are just some examples. You pick the affirmation that comes to you. It can be as short as you want to. It doesn't have to be a long sentence. You're going to say that affirmation in a power pose. You guys familiar with power poses? I think I can show you my favorite one. let's see if I stand up, which is hands on the hips. I'm kind of squatting down so you can see me. Hands on the hips, and kind of like, yes, I am, ready to face the world. Another one is kind of like arms up, like, woo! If you find that you need something more nurturing, you can do hands at the heart. So it should be something, number one, that you can hold for about 2 minutes. So don't make it a crazy pose. And it definitely should be something that you feel empowered when you're in that pose, right? That I love the Wonder Woman sort of superhero pose. That's my favorite. So some oils suggested to use for this would be transformation or believe. Those are some great oils. Again, you could use inspiration. You could use highest potential. These are also very uplifting essential oils. So you want to breathe that oil in. So I would put on the transformation, get in my power pose, breathe, and repeat my positive affirmation for 2 minutes out loud, preferably twice a day. And you want to do that at least for 3 days to give the affirmation time to sink in and take hold. Or until until you want to create a new affirmation, and then you would keep doing that. I mean, really, this is something that you should be doing on a regular basis. Number 12 is to make a plan and take action daily. So here's the thing, is you can't just do this and sit back and go, okay, I did my Aroma Freedom Technique, bring it on. I did my power pose, come on. You actually have to make a plan and put things into action. The universe, as much as it wants to help you with your abundance, it's not going to just dump things in your lap, right? You actually have to do things to get what you want. So you're going to create a plan of action to get you closer to your goal. So if your goal is to lose 20 pounds, you're going to write down things that you're going to do. Cut out sugar, no snacking, movement for 30 minutes, meditation. You're going to write down and you're going to plan it out exactly. And you can even have smaller goals within that so that you can be specific about how long you want to take to lose that 20 pounds. For my goal of doing gold by the end of June, I would have to, let's say, contact, I would say probably 10 people per day, hold probably at least 4 classes or more, maybe more, probably 8 classes within this month. So I would have to set those goals, and I would break it down and see. The best way for me is to see where I want to go and see what it will take, and then I'll know exactly what I need to get there. And since I just spontaneously said that, I have no idea what it would take, so I'd have to figure it out. But everything is possible if you have the proper intention. So that is the Aroma Freedom Technique. And I love this technique because, number one, you don't need anybody to do it to you. You can do it yourself. It's very personal, so a lot of times you may not want to deal with all these emotional things in front of people. So it's great because if you have the book or you have this as a guide, you can try doing it yourself. And if you need more support, for goodness sake, you can certainly reach out to me. Of course, you can look in the books. And then Dr. Perkus has people who are certified in Aroma Freedom Technique if you really need more guidance. So that is it. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and just pop them in the chat. If you are watching this after the show, then you can just email me if you have any questions, or if you want to learn more about essential oils, or if you want to get started with a starter kit, which the starter kit has actually 3 of those oils for the memory release blend. And Dr. Perkus really does recommend only using Young Living oils because these are therapeutically active. And if you're just using any old oil out there, we don't know what's in it. So we know that these have a seed to seal promise and are the purest oils on the planet. So it does make a huge, huge difference. And I know that I myself noticed a difference once I started using Young Living oils because I hadn't experienced the therapeutic action before with other essential oils. All right, so have a great week, everyone. I will see you next Tuesday here at 7 p.m. Pacific time. If you like this, please give me a thumbs up. If you are wanting to know when I post a new video, then please subscribe and feel free to share. All right, see you next week.